So I guess I'll start with, I was born with a congenital heart disease, and when I was 7 years old, I had an open heart surgery.
I was in high school and I had this friend, her name was Alyssa. It was in 2019. She was in a terrible car accident. She and her mom got hit and she was in a coma for about 3 weeks.
Growing up, from as little as I can remember, my mom was an alcoholic. And I have vivid memories from when I was in elementary school, and my dad would put me and my little brother in the car at 6 in the morning, and we would go to whatever bar my mom was at the night before and have to pick up her car because she couldn't drive home.
In 2020, my dad got COVID. His oxygen level went from a 95 to a 30 within 24 hours. And so I had went out and got lunch with one of my best friends. I came home and my dad is blue in the face, can't speak, and all he could get out was "get mom." My mom immediately rushed him to the hospital and he was admitted into the COVID floor.
It was early in January when my mom's aunt had passed away, and it was maybe 6 weeks right after that my grandma on my mom's side passed away. And it was only a few days after that my uncle on my mom's side also passed away. And it was only a few weeks after that my grandpa on my mom's side had passed away. It was really hard experiencing 4 losses in just 1 month.
It's just incredible how someone at that age could have so much fear and such a lack of strength in themselves, constantly feeling like they're lesser than everybody. And I was always surrounded by people who were always supporting me and who always loved on me, but at the same time, it gave me that sense of people were always feeling sorry for me. And that was just kind of a feeling that really tore me down on the inside and made me feel lesser than everybody.
I was devastated. My heart was broken. I was crying day in and day out. I was depressed. I wouldn't get out of my room. I was just praying to God, like I don't understand. Like, she had already lost her dad from cancer. Why is this happening to her? She's a great person. She's never hurt anybody. Why my best friend, God? Like, why her?
Throughout the time my parents were divorced, me and my little brother were with my dad most of the time. My mom would ask my dad if they could switch days, or if he could keep us on her nights because she had to work late or whatever reason. But then we'd find out she'd be at whatever bar drinking with her friends, or she would just be at home drinking and just didn't want us there with her.
I remember thinking of didn't have any feeling. I was numb. And then he went into a cardiac arrest and they were saying that he was having a heart attack. While he's in the hospital, my mom has to stay home, can't talk to him, can't see him because he can't talk because he's on oxygen. And they're telling us that this is a very good chance that he's not coming home.
And it just hurt to see all these losses and all this pain in such a short amount of time. And it stirred a lot of doubt and anxiety in me. And a month after, I faced an injury. And with that injury, I had broken my nose and I had a torn ligament in one of my knees, and I had a rotated hip. This accident actually took me into a surgery in which the doctors were having trouble waking me.
It's hard for someone that age to be so emotionally put down like that, but I was in a place where I could feel that I was a little different than everybody else. I was a little bit more limited than everybody else. I always felt held back. I always felt like I couldn't do as much as the other kids. I wasn't able to play sports. I wasn't able to always do what all my friends were doing.
My grandparents decided that enough was enough, and so they drove her to Austin to rehab. And she was there for a few months. While she was in rehab in Austin, she was working on herself, working on getting sober, and working on her relationship with God.
I remember sitting in my room and I was just like is when I just shut down and I was like, I'm not talking to anybody. I'm not gonna reach out to anybody anymore. Like, this is it. Like, I've given up on it. If God's given up on him, I'm giving up on God.
As I went through all of this, I had looked back and I realized that I really didn't have any friends walking with me through any of this. I had realized that those strong friendships that I thought I had built and can depend on were just gone.
I was always going to church, but it wasn't until I was about 11 years old to where I truly started to understand who God was and what his word meant. And it was 11 years old at Kids Camp where I finally accepted him as my Lord and Savior. I was to the point in my life where I understood what that meant for me and what that meant for my entire life.
There was a song that I showed her. It's called Reckless Love. When she lost her dad, she liked that song. She loved the flow of it. She liked the lyrics to it. And when she was in her coma, I played that song and I felt her squeeze my hand.
And then a few months later in November, my mom came home. And then my freshman year of high school, in April of 2018, my parents got remarried. And for the first time in so long, I finally felt like I had my mom back and my whole family back.
And so I came to church forced. I remember during worship, Here As in Heaven was on, and Ray was singing. And I've never heard the song before. That was the first time I heard the song. And all I hear is, the atmosphere is changing, a miracle can happen. It's gonna be okay. At that moment, like, tears just fell, and I had this feeling come over me of like a weight lifted. And I get home and my mom was like,
Losing friendships that I thought were really strong helped me encounter God like never before. I found out that it was in my loneliest places that he spoke to me the most. It was a hard year full of mourning, pain, and rejection. In this year, God showed me that everything really does happen for a reason. And he showed me that with every burden, there is a blessing.
I'm not defined by my medical history. I'm not defined by the limitations that I've been put through in life. It wasn't so much a curse that God put on me, but a blessing that it's something that he's gonna use in my life to impact other people.
She was in a coma for 3 weeks. Basically, they were saying that they were leading up to a point where they wanted to unplug her. And fast forward now, she's awake from her coma. She's learning how to walk and learning right now how to run. She's walking now.
And he knew that I would be where I am today. I didn't know it at the time, but he knew. I didn't know it at the time, but God saw me, and so he sees you too.
I asked how my dad was doing, and she was like, he's still the same, like nothing has changed, but I have this weird feeling over me. And I said, you have it too? And she was like, yeah. And then my dad calls and he said, I'm gonna come home. And this is the first time I heard his voice, and I couldn't tell you like how long it was. I think it was a week later that he officially got to come home on the Wednesday. I feel like my dad is a living proof that he works miracles.
If any of you guys are watching this and going through something similar, asking God why you're going through this, or doubting whether you can keep going or not, let this be confirmation that you can get through this, not using your strength, but with his strength. Because when everyone and everything else fails, he never will.